Okay, since we know that 3 is one of the zeros, let's go ahead and divide through and get what's left over after we take 3 through the synthetic division process. So 3 times 2 is 6. Add and we get 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Add and we get negative 36. 3 times negative 36 is negative 108. Add and we get negative 18. And then 3 times negative 18 is negative 54. And there's our first zero. Okay, so we know 3 is 0. You've also found negative 1/2. Now I'm just going to change it into negative 0.5. And let's remember that we started with x to the 4th. So if I were to rewrite this as a polynomial, this would be 2x to the 3rd, 1x squared, negative 36x, and negative 18. But instead of rewriting it, let's divide again, and let's get down to something that is just an x squared. All right, so let's divide negative 1/2. So negative 1/2 times 2 is going to be negative 1. That gives us 0. Negative 1/2 times 0 is going to be 0. Add, that's negative 36. And then negative 1/2 times negative 36 is positive 18. Add, and that gives us 0. Now, remember I said that we were at x to the 4th when we started. This is at 2x to the 3rd. Now we're at 2x squared. So this is the polynomial 2x squared. We do not have an x term. And then minus 36. Now to find our remaining zeros, we set this equal to 0 and we solve it. All right, so let's take our 36 to the other side. Which will make it a positive 36. Let's divide out the 2. And we will get x squared equals 18. Now let's use our square root property, and I think I saw that you got 18, but you just didn't do that square root property. So we need the positive and negative square root of 18. There are 2 answers here. Now 18 can be broken down. Let's remember that 18 is actually the perfect square of 9 times 2. And we know the square root of 9. So the square root of 9 is 3. So it can come out of the square root. The square root of 2 we don't know. So here's your 2 remaining answers. We have a positive 3 square root of 2 and a negative 3 square root of 2. And that's the case on both 10 and 12. Now let's see, there were some others that you asked about here, and of course you'll notice that that's the 2 answers that it wanted. And 12, it's going to be the same way. Let's see. I think your other one was on your next homework. All right, so question 2. Your question was about the domain, I believe. And of course, to find the domain, you would normally set x squared plus 36 equal to 0. Let's see if this will let me write here. Now, the problem with this is it's got no middle term, and it's also not a difference of squares because this is not a minus sign. So this is really unfactorable. In fact, if we try to take the 36 over to the other side and we use our square root property, this becomes plus and minus the square root of negative 36. Now, you might recall that that's 6i, but since we're dealing with real numbers when we try to graph, we will not consider this as part of the real number system. This is a complex number. So the domain's actually going to be all real numbers on this one here, because this is not something that is a real number that we can exclude. Now, in numbers 9 and 10, there seems to be a glitch in the software that I'm going to have to fix after people do. The horizontal and vertical asymptotes is counting things wrong for people, and people are getting it correct. So I'll have to go in afterwards and fix everybody's 9 and 10. So you should be answering just like this, x equals 2. So you're doing the right thing here. Now, your whole, though, let's talk about that. So when you factored the bottom, since you got the right x values there, I'm assuming that you factored it correctly. Let me see if I can get this darn writing thing that I use on here to work. Huh? No. Okay, I might have to take this to another page. Let me write it down and we'll take it over to a Word document. All right. So we've got this right here. Now you determined that x equals 0 was where the whole existed, and that is correct. And you had this denominator right here, which I'm sure that in order to get your x equals 2 for the vertical asymptote, you factored this by taking the x out and making the inside x minus 2. All right, now here's how we get the y value of where the whole would be. Let's notice that both of these x's are the same, so we can cancel them out. And I'm just going to use a different color just to... So I'm going to cancel those two out. Now these two are not the same because this one's a plus and this one's a minus. So we know that the whole existed at 0, and you know that because when you plug 0 into the top, that's going to cause a 0 on top. All right, now, but if we put 0 in after I've canceled these two out, we get 0 plus 2 on the top and 0 minus 2 on the bottom. And that gives us positive 2 over negative 2, or negative 1. So the whole is actually occurring at the point 0, negative 1.